we're dating. I'm not like your wife or anything. We sat with a counselor and he read this letter to me. He basically was like, you've saved my life.
Hi, I'm Lisa Joyner, wife of
TV megastar John Cryer.
Mega.
Yeah.
And I'm Morgan Walsh, married to
comedy legend and great actor Matt Walsh.
This is a podcast about what it's like when your significant other
is just a little too significant.
Welcome to Plus One.
I don't remember anything, but I do know I'm glad to be here talking to you.
Say again?
I said I don't remember anything. We had talked about what we were going to say. I don't remember it. But I'm thrilled about who we have coming on the show today because it's someone I don't know really well.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of people that we have relationships with.
Yes.
But this person we do not. But she is literally the epitome of what this show is.
Yeah. The levels of things that she has going on from being such a professional person and having such a big career and to adjusting to being a plus one for our headliner, who is my friend. Can I say right now who that is?
Yeah, I love how you do that.
That's
going to
cut together very easily,
how dogs
right?
do that? Before we go right to her, I do want to say, it's okay that you were late.
Oh, God damn it.
It's...
How dare...
No, what I'm trying to do is I am trying to relieve you of the guilt that you felt and the hurriedness, because we all do it. By the way, this lady has 3 children, 10 chickens, dogs, husband, philanthropic work, runs a .org.
And those are all the reasons I was late.
No. I'm
No.
literally not trying to shame you. I'm trying to say, this is a show about being real about it.
Yeah.
And we all are pulled in a million ways. So that is one of the reasons I wanted to relieve you of that. But I also wanted to, for our audience to understand, we're just doing the best we can.
Yeah, we sure are. And for some of us, that's better than others.
See how she did? See how she did. But like you said, Tess Sanchez is a remarkable woman.
Yep.
She's an author. She was a former casting executive at 2 different networks. And she just happens to be married to a person that you know.
Max Greenfield.
Max Greenfield, who has been on...
He was on The New Girl and The Neighborhood. For 15 years, I think, he had shows that have been on the air, which is such a gift in Hollywood, especially today. But he's so funny, so delightful and kind, and I think he can probably only be as great as he is because of Tess. I have a hunch.
Yes, absolutely. And this episode is just slightly different because we got to talk to him prior to talking to Tess and getting to know him a little bit. And then she just sort of comes in and we get to chat with her and learn all that is.
The real reversal of, he was the plus one and then she became the plus one.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
So enjoy, Tess Sanchez. We're just happy you're here.
Thank you.
Thrilled. This is a new friend.
Yep.
Tess Sanchez, who we got to know, or I got to know a little bit just because we have a friend in common. Schools are a great way to meet people.
They can be.
They can be.
They can also be tough.
How so?
Well, if the kids, for instance, like each other, but then you're not necessarily vibing with the parents, it can be tough.
That's happened.
Yeah.
That's happened. And then there's some parents that I'm like, we're like-minded.
Right.
Yes.
Let's do this.
And then you're friends for
and
life.
And then I'm like, can you please become better friends with that kid?
Right? Well, that kind of happened to our kids. Because our kids were immediately, they gravitated towards each other. And then Morgan and I had to really get friendly really fast.
Yeah.
And now they don't really talk. Not that they don't like each other, but they don't talk. And I'm like, sorry.
And we see each other all the time.
Yes.
Yeah. I like how it worked out.
I do too. Whatever. Their loss.
Yeah.
Well, that leads us to your husband. Let's talk about who your husband is. Let's get an idea of who.
I want to keep talking to her about her.
No, we will. But I also want to know, who's this guy?
I met Max in 2003, and he was an out-of-work actor. And I was like, this guy is all wrong, but like so right. He was so charming and was like, I want to take you on a real date. And like, we went on a real date and had...
What was a real date? What did that look like?
He came to pick me up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which, what? you know, I hadn't been picked up, you know, in LA. Like, he came to my house, he brought me a book, and he was like, I'm going to take you to my favorite restaurant. And he took me to a French restaurant in Los Feliz, and we had like an incredible dinner. He paid. We just started dating, and very, very quickly we were inseparable.
Yeah.
And
That's my person.
yeah, it's my person. It was so crazy. And I kept trying to say, like, I was like, you know, I'm a corporate driven person. I can't just be dating an actor
In a studio apartment.
yeah.
On Vermont.
Like, this isn't like part of my plan, you know? I'm on a path. So I kept, you know, like trying to sort of sell people on this idea of like, I mean, he's great, right? Like, he's really, like, he seems great, you know? I mean,
Did
he's
you
an actor.
worry because of your job that he was like, it's like kind of there's a power shift.
Well, no, because I was like, I work at the WB, and he was like, yeah, he's like, I only do movies, so I don't even like own a television. It was like one of those guys, one of those cool guys, you know? And I was like, wow, like, well, that's cool, because like then our paths will never cross, because I do like popcorn television, and you are an independent movie actor.
So good luck with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And I was like, great. And he did have a movie coming out that everyone should see if they can find clips of, which is so hysterical. It's called Cross Bronx, shot in Bronx, full, like, authentic accent that he had.
We're immediately finding
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
it is so good.
Rachel's looking it up right now.
Yeah, it is really good. And he was in that movie with Jerry Ferrara, pre-Turtle. Entourage.
Yeah.
Pre-Turtle.
Yeah.
And James Badgedale, who's like a very cool, like, hour-long drama guy. He was like, come check out this movie. It's gonna be blah 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 blah.
Bada bing,
Your
bada
impression-
bang.
Yeah.
Your
And,
impressions of
I
him are
was
so
like,
funny.
And then I saw the movie. I was like, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I was like, he's pretty good.
He's really good.
And I was like, wow. But like comedy was just not even on the table. Like he was like I'm not funny, and I was like, no, you're not funny, but you're like a pretty good dramatic actor. And like the irony that like he ended up becoming a clown, you know, for
And well
pay.
known for.
Yeah. And you know, I think like is just sort of like you don't know where your career's gonna go.
No.
And it just took like the right writing and him kind of going for something that was in a different direction.
And then making all these really funny things very grounded.
Yeah.
You know, which makes them...
well, some.
Let's not get crazy.
Yeah.
I can't shake this. I hope you remember it. But what book did he bring you? You said he brought you
He brought me a book of Chuck Close, which was his favorite artist at the time, and also randomly like an artist that I knew like a lot about. He is a painter who does almost picture perfect portraits that look like they're photographs, but they're actually painted, and he, you know, with like cubism, and it's insane.
And you guys hadn't discussed that.
We hadn't.
Wow.
And I was like, what?
Yeah.
You know, it was destiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fate.
And then we were together for like 2.5 years, and then things took a turn. He, you know, we were in a very sort of like, oh my God, in our 20s, let's go out every night. Let's have a boozy dinner. And I was like, I like can't do this on like a Tuesday. I have to be at work, and like I am on this track, and like I want to be good at this, and I can't stay out until 2 a.m. Like 5 nights a week, like, which is what he wanted to do. The more I sort of pulled back, the further he went, and he ended up, you know, becoming a very strong alcoholic and drug addict, and we ended up breaking up, and he went to rehab, and when he was there, he called and asked that I come visit him. I went to visit him, and we had like, I was like, I'm just like, we're dating. I'm not like your wife or anything. We sat with a counselor, and he read this letter to me.
Does he make an amends?
He basically was like, you've saved my life and I don't want to do this without you. And I was like, oh my God, you're at promises right now.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be like,
Yeah.
this isn't right.
And counselor, like, where are you at? Are you aware that he's
exactly. He just was like, I'm going to prove it to you every day for the rest of my life. And he did. Day by day, started working like the program and really making amends towards me and showing up in ways that like really mattered.
But Tess, how was that for you? I've been on the other side. I've been with somebody who's gone through that. And it's what people don't talk about is how hard that is on you. First of all, you care about this person. You love this person. You don't want to be an enabler. And you also are afraid that they'll change so much that you won't recognize them.
I wasn't sure how it was going to work.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure who he was without us sitting at like a bar having like dinner and wine. And
he didn't have the medicine he would use to be effusive in that way, and now he's sober. And
yeah. I was like, what are we going to do? I wasn't an addict, so I was like, I just need you to understand that like I have never had a problem with alcohol. I'm going to continue to keep it in the house. And if like I have to continue with my same friends and my support system, and you know, this is your issue, not mine. And if we can figure out a way to like merge our lives together, then great. And he was like, I would never ask you to do anything less. And you know, I chose the first year that he was out of rehab to go dry. And I didn't drink for a year, and I was like, yeah, like just I wanted to be on the same page as him.
Wow.
And then I was like, I did it. It was fine. You know, it was really helpful for us because we just were having all sorts of different kinds of conversation.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, like I did that, and like, let's go party.
Well, as the resident alcoholic and drug addict on this panel, you know, I was also
She's
with
my
Matt.
favorite.
And newly sober when I met him. And
Was he sober?
No.
Oh.
He's a very, very normal person. Sounds like you are too.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, it's really important that I take this on, that it is my deal, right? It's our relationship, not yours. Lots of people can drink with impunity.
Yeah.
And I, for a long time, thought I could drink with impunity. I could not. Nor could I do cocaine with impunity, it turns out. There is no such thing as recreational use of cocaine. I thought there was.
Yes.
Turns out there really isn't.
I don't know.
Maybe there is.
I don't know.
Actually,
No,
maybe
just
there
kidding.
is. It's a huge thing to put people through in our lives, and I'm so glad that this is how the story turned out.
Yeah.
And that you also had the wherewithal to set that boundary for yourself. I tried to take Matt to the program that people go to, family members go to. I remember taking him, and I'm like, you know, I'm your qualifier. We sat through the thing, and he's listening. He's like, gosh, this is just so great for these people. And I was like, he didn't relate
Realize
at
it
all
was-
because
yeah.
he didn't feel like you. The need
Well, had
to.
he been with you while you were drinking?
He had been with me while I was doing drugs, but I had put down alcohol. It was more the behaviors associated often with people who get involved with addicts, like the codependency stuff.
Oh, I had that.
Yeah, he just did not relate to the need to take care of me or fix me.
Okay. I definitely did do that.
You
with
did?
Max. Oh, I bought a breathalyzer that then became like a party trick where like he would bring it in and be like, let's see how high we can blow this thing, you know?
You had a breathalyzer that you guys used before he got sober in your
Oh yeah, I was trying to manage this thing.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I can help him. Like I would say to him, let's go out tonight, but like not drink. Or like we're sitting down, one drink each, and then let's go
done.
home. You know.
Oh, that's so sweet of you to
I
want to
tried.
try.
I really tried. I mean, tried and tried. The slope just got more and more slippery. And like there were, you know, it really took a turn when he was like, I'm gonna rent this loft on Selma, and I'm gonna paint there and like write and stuff. And I was like, you're getting an apartment? Like we were living together. I was like, you're getting an apartment? And it basically was his drug den.
Yeah. Sure.
He'd be like, hey, I'm just gonna crash here tonight. I'm like really busy. And there would be like people in the background. And I was like, what is happening? And I just like, it just got progressively where I was like, we're living together, but you're like only staying here 2 nights a week because you're down there drinking and doing drugs.
Yeah. He did have an instinct to protect you from it, it sounds like.
Well, because I mean, I literally was like, I would wake up at 4 a.m. and he'd be passed out on the wood floor. And I was like, I can't, like, I have to, stepping over him to like go to work, you know? And I was like, he was getting up at 12 and I was like, you know, at lunch. So I definitely tried to manage it. So after I went to visit him in rehab, funny enough, I had come from Amanda Glazer's bachelorette party. Well, it was in Vegas, and I got off the plane from Vegas, threw up, and then went to Promises to meet him. And I was like, again, his problem, not mine, you know? I remember just being like, they're going to smell the alcohol on me. Like, we had been up all night long. I remember I was like, I'm going to visit Max at Promises, and everyone's like, what are you doing? Like, that is like, this is not like...
The scheduling couldn't have been adjusted slightly?
Like, you're done. You're done with that guy at that point.
Or were you?
I know. And then I was like, I think I need to like educate myself. I read an Al-Anon book, and then I went to an Al-Anon meeting, and I was like, yeah, I've done all these things. I also was like, I get it. I'm not the problem. You are. And I can change my behavior because I would love to not manage this. I tried so fucking hard. And I was just so happy to be done. And so once I sort of reclaimed my like sense of self, I was like, yeah, like this is you and I'm me, and like you're gonna figure that out, and I don't need to manage your meetings. And I mean, he was like 90 meetings, 90 days, 7 a.m., like scrubbing the floors of the meetings. Like he was there setting up at the crack of dawn, like every day. And I was like, great. Like I'm going to sleep in, you know?
It's important to the success of the journey too, I think.
So. And, you know, he has been sober now for, I think, 20 something years. Like,
Amazing.
Yeah, he's I'm sorry, no, it's 18 years.
He and I are in the same.
Yes.
There's such a theme in your life that I'm saying, not to be a therapist or anything.
Oh, please.
But identity, figuring out your identity over and over and over. How do I fit in this relationship? Who am I as a mother? Who am I as a professional? Right. There's a lot of that in your story.
And identity crisis.
Yeah. Which brings us to being a +1.
Yes.
You're a high-powered person who gets the invites to all the parties.
Yeah.
That the other person is the +1.
So he was like, I need to like continue to get my SAG benefits, and like I need to work. At that particular moment, I was working on a show called it was the Melrose Place reboot.
Oh yeah. I covered that.
Yeah. And
I live there.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding.
And the producers were like, oh, you know, your boyfriend is an actor. And I was like, yeah, he's an actor. And I was like, you know, maybe he could read for one of the parts. You know, he doesn't really do TV, but whatever. And so
I love that you've taken on his, like, he only does independent movies.
Well,
so.
I was like, I don't even know how to explain what he does, you know, so it's like just embarrassing. So he comes in, he reads, and they're like, he's way too urban, you know, like New York accent, you know.
Right.
And like not Melrose Place soapy enough for this. And I was like, totally get it. And they were like, but there is the role of realtor. And we want to do this really cool campaign where the real estate agent, not in the show, but like this is a marketing campaign where he will be the realtor of Melrose Place, giving a tour, a behind the scenes tour of this set / house.
Oh my God.
The CW, I guess it was the CW at the time. The CW at the time was like, the campaign was Max on all the bus stops on Melrose.
Holy
a picture of Max
moly.
going, do you want a tour of Melrose Place? He was the realtor.
Oh
Yes.
my God.
And
The very urban realtor.
yeah, the very urban realtor. And like there is an EPK somewhere of
We
him,
need it.
him coming
I
in
probably
and,
had it.
and opening the doors and being like, welcome to Melrose Place. Let me take you on a tour. And he to this day, he's like, you made me do that, And I was like, you needed a job.
Yeah.
Right.
And they were like, maybe we'll have him in like, in an episode at some point. And I was like, I think we're good. Whatever, he shot the day of giving the tour, and he's like, what's in this room, kind of thing.
He's checked this box.
Yeah, right, exactly. That was really, I got like a
that's
really
amazing.
good, it was but yes. So
what
he
is it-
very
what-
clearly was my plus one.
Yeah.
I was like, really like having the time of my life.
I was teasing you because I was saying, was it humbling for both of you just because this is your boyfriend that you were like, can my boyfriend come too? Like having to.
You know what? It's
bring
weird.
him-
I think it was embarrassing for him, but like I didn't give a shit. Like,
Yeah.
I was like,
Because you were so solid.
I was like,
in your
yeah,
position.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
like, and I
Either keep up or step
yeah.
aside.
Also, like, this isn't a time for you to feel embarrassed. Like, this is fun. Like, you have access to stuff, and like, I never got him an audition, and like, I never like cast him in anything. I mean, I probably suggested him to like someone at some point, but I mean, he was always represented, and his agents always did their job, and like, he was always well taken care of. So he didn't really, need me weighing in. Of course, I did.
But you're still going to.
Yeah.
When did you see that actual shift though? Was it once you lost your job and like he got New Girl, or how did that?
So he got New Girl, and it was like, that's really sort of what put him on the map. He had been doing Veronica Mars and Ugly Betty and like, more hour stuff that certainly he had never been a series regular. And this job like catapulted him into, an arena that felt new and exciting. And I was so proud and like felt vindicated because I was like, I've always believed in you, and like you did it, you got it, and I was just so proud of him. And we had this like sort of golden era where he was on that show, I was running a department, and like, really having the time of my life, working and discovering talent. And I would come home, like I described these like days of like, we would come home and I'd be like, tell me about your day. And he'd be like, tell me about your day. And like, we would like fight to like, talk about like the most exciting thing. And I'd be like, oh my God, I met this kid today. And like, I think he's going to be a big star. And like, we would have these like incredible, like, creative discussions. And I'd be like, I read the script and like, oh, this is like so inspiring, and like we're trying to figure out, like, get a crack at this, and like, what do you think was missing here? And we would have these really great like collaborative conversations. And I remember after I lost my job, I was like, I have nothing to contribute to these conversations.
I admire you so much, first
Yes.
of all, for what you've been through
Thank you.
and your evolution. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And sharing your evolution. Like,
Yeah.
it's been so, I think that's so inspiring that you've come forward and talked about your story too. It's,
Yeah.
So
I mean,
helpful.
the backstory is I was an casting executive for 20 years, and in love with my job, worked my ass off to get there. And then during the pandemic, I was downsized and let go. It was a much harder transition than I had ever anticipated. And I went on, all the stages of grief, and then I got up, and then I was like, I'm gonna pitch a show. I'm gonna start a tequila line. I'm gonna, and I just got crazy, like doing a bunch of different things, and came to the idea of like, I want to write. Every time I would retell the story, which I was retelling my friends, mostly over the phone because we couldn't see anyone, and they were like, this is unreal. Like, you got to write this down.
Can
And
I
so
ask, did you see it coming? Did you anticipate?
No, I thought I was getting my bonus. I got my bonus and then my walking papers.
And also
Really?
considering it was the pandemic, how did that transpire?
Oh,
Were you on Zoom?
it's an epic Zoom story. Yeah, it's in the book, which is like,
And there have been a few epic Zoom stories. We've got
yeah.
children wandering into meetings. We
yes.
have men caught in very compromising positions
yeah.
on Zoom. And then
this, where I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go get my bonus. See you guys later. Don't come into the office. 30 minutes later, Max is like, is someone dying in the office? And he comes in, he's like, why are you crying and yelling? And I was like, I just got fired. And he
Take us through that, because I want
Yes.
to do a little bit of an order. So you go, you're going on the Zoom. It's the pandemic. Things are upended completely.
Correct.
And you're working from home. Take me from there when you find out this news.
there was a meeting set, and I was like, okay, great. He's like, we can talk about bonuses, and I'm going to give you your bonuses that you can disperse to your team, because I was a department head. And I was like, great. And so then we get on the Zoom, and it's just still so vivid, which is crazy, as trauma tends to be.
yeah, time really slows down in those moments.
And it was like, what an incredible job you've done. Here's your bonus. I just like can't even tell. You've hit every target. You've like nailed everything. It's just, your team is wonderful.
You had been there for 20 years.
I had been in that job for 11 years, and then I had worked at other networks and come up that way. This is so bittersweet. And I was like, well, what do you mean this is bittersweet?
Come again?
Yeah, and I was like, what? And then my body started to react to this, because I was like, there's some sort of danger happening here. And my pulse started, I go, what do you mean bittersweet? Like, because we're not together? Because like we're not in the same room? And he was like, no, it's bittersweet. We're going in a different direction. The subtext was, we are going to keep everyone in your department, and we get to keep them during this strained economic time because you're not going to be there. And I was like, well, shouldn't I have had a voice in this? And he was like, these people get to keep their jobs because,
We're eliminating you.
right. And I was like,
Wow.
the people that I hired and trained, and
What a gut punch.
it was not my finest moment. I think all parties wish that could have played out differently. You know what I mean? My reaction, his delivery,
Yeah.
like
Hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah,
you know?
there was
All
no,
parties wish that went differently.
Yeah.
That's
It
so
really
funny.
he did not anticipate my reaction, which was I completely flew off the handle. And I'm pretty cool. Like, I'm not like, I don't get super angry and yell and but this was like, he was like, whoa.
I kind of love that.
And
I
so,
do too.
yeah, I mean,
was it being recorded? The Zoom.
Oh God, no! But I think he wished it had been, because there was no HR on there.
Yeah.
And I was like, "You motherfucker!" I was so upset. But I also was sad, and I was crying, and I was like, and Max, my husband, came in, and he was like, "What is happening in here?" And I said, "I just got fired," and he was like, "What?" And then he came over and he looked in the computer and he goes, "This is over." And he closed the computer.
Wow.
He put this wailing animal out of her misery and cut the cord. And I was like, oh, thank God he did that. And then it was, about a year and a half before I could even talk about it without completely sobbing.
So you surprised yourself. Your reaction, you surprised yourself.
Oh
with
yeah.
your reaction.
Yeah. And I, obviously have replayed it a bazillion times in my head and, wonder if I had responded differently, or just if there was even an opportunity to sort of, renegotiate how that ending was going to be.
Right.
But I felt so betrayed that it was betrayal at the highest level, that I was like, nope, it's done. I don't need to talk to anybody. I'm finished. We'll never speak again.
But the preservation that was going on at that moment for you, you were like, this hurts, this is painful, I don't like it, I'm uncomfortable, I'm out of control,
Yeah.
fuck them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. And so I just was like, I sent a text and I said, the only, person, if you need to get anything across, you can speak with my attorney, but this conversation is done.
That's so baller, if I might say.
It felt like survival.
Yeah.
I was an unhinged woman.
Okay, you were an unhinged woman.
Yeah.
Okay, but also I respect that you allowed, or maybe you couldn't help it, but your own authenticity to come through.
Yeah, there was no faking this. I think because I was so blindsided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if you had an inkling that this was coming, it's a little different.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that was sort of like the crux of it, of like, I was one of a very few EVPs, which is an executive vice president. I'm diverse.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was protected. I was a working mom that felt like, well, I'm not a white male, you know, which at that time it was like, go sit in the corner. Right. I was like, oh, I'm
For
good.
once, may we say. Once.
Yeah. I was like, I'm safe, you know, and
you were tenured, and
you're right.
you had a track record.
Yeah, I was there, and like, and I had, you know, glowing reviews, and so, and I had weathered different leadership, and I was just like, God, I just didn't see it coming.
Might I say too, in the pandemic, there were so many stressors.
Yeah.
And we all had elevated cortisol. That to have something like that then happen, you probably didn't have the resiliency or the, you know, your wits about you in the same way.
You had two children at the time too.
Well, I had two children. My son, who was 4, turning 5 at the time, I just really had not spent that much time with him because I had been working, and I went straight back to work, and all of a sudden I was like, nice to meet you. Like, I've never not had a job.
Right.
I don't have a job, and I have nowhere to go. And so it was a real reckoning. And, you know, the double, triple backstory was that the weekend before this, I had found out that my dad had Alzheimer's. And so he was like my biggest support, and just such an incredible mentor in my life. And I couldn't call him to tell him, or my mom, because they were just so devastated over what they were going through.
Right.
When I wrote the book, I sort of examined this idea of like, why did I become so unhinged and untethered? And it was like, because I didn't have a foundation. Like I didn't have anything to sort of like go back to. I mean, it was Max. Like, he was it. He's great, but like I just needed more. I needed more support, and I wanted, you know, my dad to be like, okay, this is like, here's like, let's talk about strategy, and like, where do we go from here? And
It's a lot of loss.
and so I was just like devastated, and
It shook, your infrastructure was shaken.
Exactly.
And you did not have that. And you sound a lot like I was with my father. He was my world.
So much career stuff. You know, he was a mediator, and he was just so good at like breaking situations down, and, you know, looking at all sides of stuff. And like, this was the time that I wanted to, like, please give me some insight. And, you know, it was like probably 2 weeks before I ended up, you know, trying to tell them, but he like couldn't really understand.
His illness had progressed quite a
Well,
bit.
he was diagnosed with aphasia too, which like, so he couldn't communicate. And so I really couldn't, like, and the pandemic just made it so much worse because it was all about isolation. And so much. So it was like a perfect storm of like a lot of stuff happening at the same time. And, you know, I would have stayed at that job until they closed like, it was a very steady fixture in my life.
And you loved it.
I loved it. I would have never left. And maybe at the, you know, my road was done there, you know, and it was like a blessing that I then was able to really be there for my parents and really be there for my kids when they really needed me. And I tried to start to look at all of the other things that opened up in my life as a result of that, instead of just being like, I'm lost and
why did this happen to me?
And why, yeah, poor me. And I felt embarrassed and I felt ashamed. And that, I think, is, you know, such a hard thing to work through, of just feeling like I've always been a leader and confident, and I just felt embarrassed that this had happened to me. And I was like, how do I start to build back my confidence? You know, going and telling my story and like really that was the way to get it out. I had to get it out. The timing of everything, there was just so much that I had to say. It did not take me long to write the book. Like, I was just like, here we go. And yeah, exactly. And I wrote the whole thing, and then I pitched it to publishing houses as a full book, something that I had never done, totally out of my comfort zone. And you know, it ended up going with Simon & Schuster, and it was such an education.
That's exactly what you needed. You needed your next challenge.
Yes, I needed something that I was like, I can do something and be good at this and have success in something. I needed a win. But like I talk in the book about, like, Max would be like, even like the smallest thing, he's like, that feels like a win for you. Like, I was like, I got excellent parking today. He's like, that's a win. He's like, let's start celebrating the little wins, you know, because I was like, I just need a win, you know, let's turn this around. And so he was really good at like sort of recognizing these little, and so supportive of, you know, but I mean, the cynical side of me was like, come on. This is not a win.
But sometimes the universe, or they say sometimes the universe does for us what we can't do for ourselves.
100%.
And like you said, you would have stayed there and you had all of this inside you that you'd never done before that the world needed.
And
so
you found comfort in, you know,
Yes.
that
It certainly made me understand that I was doing the right job during that period of my life. The creativity was undeniable, and it didn't go away when the title went away.
Right.
And that is really what I needed to remember, is that like, that's a building that I went to that was an office, and I don't need that in order to feel validated. I can be creative on my own and look for, you know, things that fulfill me creatively that aren't, you know, on a studio lot.
Can I also say that what you did and what it seems like you've done for the, you know, I've gotten through some of your book, that what you have done is very resilient. Okay. And what you're doing is modeling good behavior for your kids. That resilience, you can't teach your children that. You have to show them that.
Right. Yes.
And that's a life skill that they'll always have, or they'll see, you know?
I hope so. I was so into this idea that my daughter was like, I mean, they grew up like visiting me at lunch and like coming to my office and like pretending to like roll calls, like running down the halls. And I was so upset and sad that like they weren't going to continue to get to know that I was a boss. I remember I told my son probably like a year ago that I was like, you know, like I used to have a real job. Like you couldn't just walk into my room and find me. I used to have a place to go every day. And he's like, you did?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, like you don't remember, but like, you know, you went to daycare on the studio lot and you literally would come at lunch and like, you know, sit on my assistant's lap and like, you know, play with the phones. And I was like, this is like a whole different, and I really longed for them to perceive me as a boss and sort of remind my daughter like, you know, by the way, this thing happened and I was really sad for a long time, and this is how you start to build back.
Yeah.
And like you have to keep going.
I think you're so right, though. There must have you needed to be available for this other chapter,
Right.
So
Right.
the pathway was cleared for you,
Yeah.
and then you took it, which
Yeah.
is the best part.
Yeah.
You didn't deny that this was happening, and you went right into it, and you to write a book about it, to be so public about it. It's just awesome.
The world works in a very interesting way. And
Yeah.
sometimes it takes you a while and hindsight to see it.
My dad, you know, was diagnosed the week before, and then he died within 2 years.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And so I know that I was available emotionally for that in a way that I would have had to compartmentalize it and not really be there for my mom. I mean, for the first time in my life, I was like, oh, I was able to help them move out of their house and try to build them another life, you know, with some like a support team and, you know, people that were around them helping them. I had started writing a little bit of the book, and then he got up one morning and fell and hit his head and died. And watching somebody with that disease and it progress is so painful, because there is a soul inside of a body that's not working anymore. I mean, like, he was walking and eating, but like there was nothing he was able to communicate. And it was so, like, I don't know that I could have endured watching that for 10 more years, you know, or 5 more years. It was divine intervention. And I mean, it didn't totally feel like that at the time, because it was so shocking. But it really was for the best, because he was a man of like great dignity, and he was starting to not have that like independence or grace that he was so used to having.
What do you think your dad would say about where you're at now?
He would be so proud of me. Yeah, so proud. After, you know, he'd cleaned out his house and he had passed away, and I found an email from him that my mom had saved, an email that he had written me, and in the email he said, you know, the way that you describe Max and your relationship, because it was from 2003, and he had kept it, and he's like, I love, please keep writing, I love the way that you describe these things. And then he wrote, maybe this is a second career. And I was like,
No.
Yeah. And I found that email. My mom had saved it, and I was like, oh my God. And attached to it was the email that I had written him. A lot of like really wild things kind of lined up in my life, like on this journey.
Typically we would have Max sort of call in, but he did get a gig, so he's working today.
Correct.
So Morgan and I had the privilege of talking to him yesterday, and we would love to share with you some of what he said.
Okay.
First of all, thank you for agreeing to do with this.
I'm so happy to be here.
Did Tess tell you how we got in touch?
Well, Tess just told me join the Zoom at 1:30.
It's going to be with strangers.
And that was the only thing I heard. But then Morgan's name somehow crept into the conversation. And then I got very excited.
Because I don't know Tess at all.
And neither do I. First of all, she has an amazing, if not multiple, but there's one specific chapter in her book. We've decided to go in a different direction that deals very much with this. Because, you know, she had a full career of her own for forever, and I was just the idiot on TV. And I always sort of felt like the plus one. And in the beginning of COVID, she was fired from that job. Her identity changed, and she sort of had to rediscover her place or where she fit. I find that Tess just tells me what to do. And it never ever feels like, I'm always just like,
you are the plus one.
Truly feel that way every day of my life. And I am happy to sit in that position. My whole life is just, is this okay?
Yeah.
What should I do now?
I appreciate that honesty.
The thing that I love is doing the job. And so all the shit that exists around it is really not for me. And I know that in order to, you know, get the job and be a part of the job and getting to do the thing that I actually like, it really does feel like that we're all doing it together. Because I can't be there and feel free and do the thing that I want to do without knowing that Tess is solid and she's good and our family's good and what she's doing. And, you know, it's just, that's when it's best, it's all working together. I've been so fortunate that have been on 2 shows that have lasted for a long time, but she has, you know, coached me through each job that I've gotten and the road to that job, auditioning for the job. It's very helpful to be married to a casting director, and she is the one who navigates all of it. So like, you know, you end up on a red carpet or something and they'll ask a question and I'll always answer questions. Well, you know, we. And I've had people say, who's we? Who are you talking about? And then I'll answer, well, you know, God. Which, by the way, honestly is not far off. It's like I have my higher power and Tess is one and the same a lot of the times. It probably gets me in trouble. We went to Paris for my 40th birthday. When she told me that she was organizing the trip, I remember being like, man, I don't want to do this. This feels like so much work.
Customs, all that.
And she's organizing.
We gotta travel and do the whole thing. I go, I can't. I don't know about this. And she was like, please don't ruin this for me, because I put a lot of time and energy into this. And I was like, I get it. I was like, fine. And so I ended up going on this trip because I didn't want her to feel bad for my birthday. We got there, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. And I remember with like a day or two left, we were out to dinner. We were with a bunch of friends of ours. And I remember making a toast, and I hadn't written anything. And I was talking about her, and I was trying to like really understand the moment in our relationship. And I remember thinking, it speaks to our entire existence. Without Tess, I would not have gotten on the plane. You know, she's the one who pushes me to do everything and step outside of all the things that I'm so comfortable with. And I like to be cozy and comfy. Like, get out of the house. And because of that, it all feels like one to me.
But the idea that without Tess, you wouldn't have gotten on the plane of life, or you wouldn't get on the plane of life.
For real. You know, I've had some incredible experiences in my life. You know, there's an unknown element to all of it. I know the one thing that continues to push me in the direction of experiencing it all is Tess.
That's really sweet. That's so well said.
Her book is so beautiful, and I think encapsulates all of these things. And talks about them so eloquently. And I remember, you know, she didn't let me read the book until it was done. And I wasn't worried about what she was going to say about me, or, you know, how she was going to depict me, or whatever it was. I very vividly remember thinking, her experience is her experience, and it's not for me to articulate it any other way. But what I was worried. I was like, what if it's bad? I was like, what if I read this thing and it's just like bad? I was like, oh, or like undersells our story or her story. And I remember reading half of it on a plane, calling her afterwards and just being like, I'm halfway through. I can't believe how good this is, but I'm not ready to discuss yet. And then I was in New York, and I sat like at a coffee shop and just read the whole, and I'm horrible. I can barely read. And I read the whole second half of the book. I was so blown away at how she articulated her and our experience. And she talks about all of the things that you discussed. It's my favorite book.
It sounds like you made a toast at your birthday about Tess, but if you were to introduce her at like an award ceremony, if it was a Lifetime Achievement Award or any place where you felt like you had the opportunity to really talk about her and introduce her, what do you think you would say?
I wrote something down to introduce my wife, Tess Sanchez. I showed her what I wrote, and she rewrote all of it. I'm going to read the following, which I'm seeing for the first time, but know that this is more how I feel than what I originally wrote down.
Got it.
And then it would be something beautiful, but the first draft and whatever would come out of my mouth right now would not cut it. So this is me introducing Tess's introduction to herself.
What would it be?
Something like that.
How would she introduce herself?
She would want me to do it. She would like to downplay it. If I were doing it, she would feel the allowance. Like, well, if you're gonna say it, say this. Elegant.
He's an actor. He likes to be given words.
Charismatic.
I'm honestly nervous. I'm telling you. You know,
It won't be good enough.
I wrote the foreword to the book, and then she rewrote it.
Oh my God.
And it was so much better. I would have said this if I was smarter.
She is going to talk to us about how you guys met, but give us your side of the story.
There's definitely her side and my side, but it's all pretty similar at this point. I mean, it was so long ago. I think we've been together 23, 24 years now. We were at a bar and just saw each other from across the room, and both were like, And we were both wearing like stupid, I guess, early 2000s hats. I was wearing like a red beanie, and she was wearing like a little Britney Spears like newsy hat. And we both were like, oh.
Look at that hat.
And then shuffled over to one another, and our relationship especially in the early days, was one of these where it just like kept getting better. We just kept finding each other because it would get better, and then it would get difficult, and then it would get challenging, and then one of us would be going through something, and then but through all of it, we just kept coming back to one another. And I think, we continue to do that. There's very few things I'm still learning about Tess. We know each other pretty well and have been through so much of it together. But what you grow to like value more than anything is the relationship itself. And having moved through so many different things, both good and bad, and experiencing so much together, like it's the relationship. And that's why, like, when you go to these things and they go, tell us about this, and you're like, well, and it really is. It's like these experiences or these victories, or when you talk about it, to me, it just feels so collective and not singular at all, because it's all so much a part of a bigger thing that Tess and I have grown. When New Girl happened, we were married and our daughter was 1 at the time. Tess had just started at Fox. Right at the time, they had a discussion with her about becoming the head of casting at Fox. And it was within days of me having to test for New Girl. And so the studio, the 20th, knew that Tess was married to me and had to go to Tess and say, we're pulling you out of the casting process. As you know, your husband is up for the job, and we think it's a conflict of interest. And Tess was like, totally understand. And she was freaking out because she was all of a sudden being offered this position and was just like, I don't want anything. And I was like, well, why aren't you in the room? And she was like, well, what if the president of the network turns around and says, like, I don't know, do we really believe that he can get the girl? You know what I mean? Or something like that. And so she was like, I'm out of here. And luckily it all worked out. I remember she told the story. She was like sitting in the head of the old head of casting, this wonderful woman named Marcia Shulman. And the two of them were sitting in their office, and Kevin Riley, who was running Fox at the time, walked into the office and was like those guys we got from New Girl. And Marcia goes, well, one of them's married to Tess. And he goes, get out of here. And it was like a whole thing. And it was just, that was sort of the beginning of it. She very much had a job, and I very much did not at that time.
Yeah. She's talked about the sort of rebalancing, I guess. How have you seen her go through it, navigate it, and come out the other side?
I think I've watched her do what I've done and what anybody does in a situation where you're sort of knocked off your feet and you've experienced something that is wildly uncomfortable and emotional. And I've watched her slowly on her own time experience it and really feel all of it. And when it comes up, taking it in and letting it and slowly letting it go. And it took a long time. And to experience that during COVID and feel so alone with it, it was a process. It was incredible to sort of watch her move through it, because she never lost. I don't think she ever really lost like the hope and just the idea that eventually I'm going to feel okay. But sitting in the I'm not okay for a while, was really hard. And to see her now and to see her thrive, and to see her book come out and do so well, and she's writing for Oprah Daily now, and just to see her like really confident again has been such a gift and so wonderful. And it goes back to what we were talking about before. You make it through these things and you walk through these things together, and you give the other person the space to walk through it alone. It adds and grows the relationship.
Well, you guys seem like you're lucky you found each other in that bar.
For sure.
And that you were wearing those hats.
Yeah, see?
And we just cleaned out our house, and I found the hat again. And I said, keeping this. It's like I have it in a special box. Not my hat.
Oh. Anyway, thank you, Max, for being with us. How do you feel listening to that?
I feel like it's pretty accurate.
So your hat was a Britney Spears hat?
It was like a camel-colored chapeau that I was like, this looks good.
I bet it did.
I was feeling it. And then since then, I've tried to throw that hat out so many times, and it keeps reappearing because he gets it out of the trash.
He's saving it.
We must get a picture of that hat.
Oh, I might actually have a picture of myself in that hat.
We'll need
Okay,
it.
we must have
I'll
that.
send that to you. Oh my God. Yeah, those were like early, really fun days. And, you know, when you go through challenging times early on in a relationship, you really get to know each other. Oh, this is how this person is under stress.
Right.
And this is how they react to, and it's really telling of like the character of who someone is. Not who they are in the good times, but who they are in the bad times.
100%. We like to ask our guests how they would like to be known.
At one point during this like journey that I've been on, was given the prompt of like, write your own
Obit.
How do I want to be remembered? So much of that was really about like the legacy that I want my kids to walk away with, and who I hope they become in the world. What I would like to be known for is being kind, collaborative, creative, funny, engaged, curious, full of adventure, and a risk taker, a good mom, and somebody that knows and understands what working hard can do and reap, and still being kind while you're doing that.
Signed the boss.
Signed boss.